Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. If this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to cut and sew this flared shirt dress. If it's what you love to learn, kindly watch till the end. And if you're yet to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's get started with this tutorial. This is the fabric I'll be making use of. It's a vintage fabric and I have 3 yards here. I also have this plain black piece of fabric that I'll be using for the belt. I'll fold the entire 3 yards of fabric I have here into 2 equal parts and cut it so I can have 1.5 yard for the front and 1.5 yard for the back. I'll fold one of the 1.5 yards I have cut into 2. I'm going to determine the wideness of my fabric with the width of the full length. That is the A-line part, how wide you want your A-line to be. That is what you're going to use to determine the wideness of your fabric. Okay, I was supposed to fold this entire fabric into 2 equal parts, but I didn't because I want this design, this circle design, to be at the center front. Okay, I want it to be at the center front. As you can see, the design was not much in the fabric, so I had to do this so that I can have that design at the center front. From this closed side, which is the center front, I'm going to mark 3 inches inwards for my button allowance and connect with a straight line from the top of the fabric to the full length. I will take the other 1.5 inch that I've cut out, which is going to serve as the back piece, and fold it into 2, then place it on this front piece starting from the 3 inches button allowance that I've marked. Go ahead and place your back piece on the front just like the way you see me doing. I'm going to mark and square across my starting line. Placing my tape on the starting line, I will mark 11 inches downwards for the bust points and 17 inches for the half length and square across. Placing my tape on the starting line, which is also the shoulder line, I will mark half of my shoulder measurement of 8 inches. The 3 inches button allowance is not included. I'm marking these 8 inches. So you can see where I started marking this half of my shoulder measurement. That's where we are going to mark yours. I'll mark 3 inches inwards for the neck width and come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Connect it to the neck width to form my shoulder slant. I'm going to mark the front and back neck depth. For the front neck depth, I'll mark 3 inches downwards, and for the back neck depth, I'll mark 1 inch and connect with a curve to the neck width. From the bust line, I will mark 1.5 inches upwards for my chest line. On that 1.5 inches, I'm going to mark 8 inches inwards and connect with a straight line to meet the shoulder slope. I'll find the midpoint of that straight line. On the midpoint, I'll come in by 1/2 inch. And on the chest line, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my bust circumference and add extra 2.5 inch allowance. 1/2 inch will be for ease and 1.5 inch will be for sewing allowance. So I use my armhole curve to connect from the shoulder slope to the 1/2 inch I came in by to 1/4 of my bust circumference on the chest line to form my armhole curve. On the bust line, I will mark 1/4 of my bust circumference and add 2.5 inches allowance, 1/2 inch for ease and 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. On the half length, I will mark 1/4 of my waist circumference and add extra 3.5 inches allowance, 1 inch for ease and 1.5 inches for sewing allowance. I will connect the measurement on the bust line to that of the half length. I'll also connect from the measurement I marked on the half length to the full length in a cycle form like so. Okay, the way you mark your flay length. That is how I'm going to mark the full length of this dress, then connect it to the measurement on the half length. After connecting, I'm going to cut it out. At the neckline, I will cut out the back neckline first, then remove it and cut the front neckline. So I've cut out the back neckline first. I'm going to raise it up now and cut the front neckline. As you can see, I extended it to the 3 inches button allowance, and I'm also going to notch that 3 inches to know where I started from. Afterwards, I'm going to open up these 3 inches. I'm going to open the center front. Now I'm going to cut the sleeve, so I'm going ahead to fold my fabric into two. Minusing 1/2 inch for joining, I'm going to take the measurement of the dress armhole. Whatever I get is what I'm going to mark on the biceps line. So I'm going to mark a starting line on my folded fabric, and from that starting line I'll measure 4.5 inches downwards for my biceps line, and I'm going to mark the full length as 9 inches plus 1 inch for folding, making it 10 inches. So I'm marking 10 inches for the full length. After doing this, I'll square across the two lines. On the bicep line, I'll mark the measurement I got on the armhole and connect it to the starting line. I'll find the midpoint of this slanted line. They use my curved ruler to curve from the starting line to that midpoint, and from the midpoint to the bicep line, like so. On the full length, I'll mark half of my arm measurements and add extra 1.5 inches sewing allowance. I'll cut out this curve and retake the measurement to make sure it aligns with that of my armhole. So it was more than, I had to reduce it, and from that point and from that bicep line, I'm going to connect it to the full length and cut it out. Then I'll use it to cut the second sleeve. I will cut the facing I'll use to turn the back piece neckline. Then for the front piece, I'm going to fold the button allowance before cutting the facing. I've also gone ahead to cut out these plain pieces of fabric I'll be using for the button. So it is 4 inches wide and about 13 inches long. Now I'm going to fold the 3 inches for the button allowance. So to do that, I'm going to fold the entire 3 inches and iron it so that I can know where the 3 inches ended. I will take one of the front piece and fold in 1/2 inch like this and iron it. Then I'll fold it again to get to that 3 inches line. This is how I'm going to be folding the button allowance from the neckline to the full length for the two front piece, and I'm going to be putting in my my hemming gum to hold it in place. I was done folding the button allowance, and this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to turn the back piece neckline with the facing, and also cut the facing for the front piece. And please run a stitch on the button allowance after holding it down with your hemming gum. It helps to secure the hemming gum. I was done turning the necklines of the front and back piece using the facing. What I'm going to do now is to join the shoulders together. I was done joining the shoulders, and I've also attached the pressing button at the center front, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is to attach my sleeve. Okay, I've gone ahead to double fold the bottom part of my sleeve. What I'm going to do now is to attach it to the armhole of my dress. I'm also going to double fold the hem of my dress. I was done joining the sleeve. What I'm going to do now is to close the two sides and also attach my belt. I'll pin the two sides of the front and back piece together and mark 1.5 inch from the sleeve to the full length. For the belt, I'm going to mark 17 inches downwards from the shoulder, which is my half length. That is where I'm going to be inserting the belt. I'll put the belt inside and pin it there. So that while closing it, I'll close it together with the belt. And that will be all for the cutting and sewing of this shirt dress. If you find this video helpful and you learned something, please hit on the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, drop your comment and share this video. It goes a long way to encourage me to do more tutorials. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in my next tutorial.